I'd like to welcome you all here. My name is Vaughan Smith. I'm the founder of the Frontline Club. And I'm introducing this particularly because I wanted to welcome and support verbally as best I could this project, Memo, which a club with freelance roots. It comes from an agency, a television news agency, a freelance agency. And so we see ourselves as a sort of freelance institution. So we're really pleased to see a group of freelancers try and build something as this, and we want to wish it every success. For housekeeping, please put your phones on silent and all that, which is pretty straightforward and obvious. This is being live streamed, so anything you say is potentially on the record. If you do get a chance to ask a question, as I'm sure you will, please identify yourself at the beginning of your question. The other thing I wanted to say, which I think is really relevant, is it's a particularly important time for freelancing today. Now, these months, and this year, there are negotiations going on in America at the moment. I just returned from New York, trying to see if we can't improve freelance safety in the field. Freelancers are most at risk. They get killed more than anybody else these days. They're the people out there doing most of the news gathering in conflicts. And the industry is beginning to understand and appreciate this, but only beginning to, it seems to me. I am part of a group of people, 7 people, who run a representative body for freelance journalists called the Frontline Freelance Register. And we have, as a group, there's 500 of us, and we were voted in. It's kind of democratic, which is a rather curious thing to have in journalism. But anyway, we are literally negotiating against 20 news organizations trying to improve things for freelance. And what we'd like is a bit of solidarity. And we think it's very important that freelancers who disagree with things we're doing get out there and give their points of views and join the communication. But at the same time, I think as freelancers, we have to work together through any disagreements, and I don't think there are very many disagreements, if we're going to make a change. But most importantly, we have to win the argument to the industry that poor pay is a matter of safety. It is important to our safety. You can't pay for your own safety if you're not paid properly. How can you afford the best fixer? How can you afford quality transport that's actually going to get you to where you want to be? How can you afford the training courses, all this stuff? And the day must come when freelancers aren't reliant from the news industry on charity. Surely our contribution warrants a status that's better than being in need of charity for our safety needs. I think freelancers want to take responsibility for their own safety. So that's enough I've said. So please look out for the Frontline Freelance Register. Please, as freelancers, those of you who are freelancers here, support us, but not to the point that we want you not to give your opinions and express your opinions, but they've got to be done in a productive way. We've got to resolve these issues, and there's some pretty difficult decisions to make and agreements. I mean, how the hell are we going to get an agreement with the industry on spec work, for example? It's extremely complicated, and there are lots of views on on what it should be, and there's a divergence there. But anyway, I'll leave it at that because let's talk about Memo. Congratulations, Memo, and welcome to the Frontline Club. And I'm now handing over to Paul, though.
Can you hear me? Is that switched on? So hi, I'm Paul Lowe. I'm a photographer, but I'm also the course director of the MA Photojournalism and Documentography at the London College of Communication, and I'm very proud to be hosting tonight's event for the Memo team, who I've just met, by the way, so we're not close. We just found out what they've been doing, and I was invited by Morale, who's at the back there, who's one of the editors of the project, so she's got a lot of interesting things about the kind of structure of the project as well to talk about. So I think the idea is we're going to show the site, and then we're going to talk a little bit about what the idea was, how the idea came about, what the philosophy of the publication is, and obviously we'll open up for questions and discussion. So you want to introduce yourselves as well, and just so we know who everybody is and who you are in the organization.
Hello. Yes. Okay. Good night, everybody. So I'm Fabio Bucciarelli is Manu Brabo and Matteo Dispenza. We are both photographers, freelancer, as Vaughan said, and Matteo is the director of the developers that helped us to do Memo. So tonight, basically, we're gonna show you this new platform, and it's a magazine, it's an app that try to join forces between the photojournalist, the journalist, and the new digital, the new technology. When the digital was born, what the newspaper tried to do, and newspaper and magazine tried to get the format in the newspaper and put this format in the digital way. I mean, the article and the slideshow and the picture, they get it from the papers and they put in the digital way, I mean, for iPad or Android, right? So what we are trying to do is like use the digital way as the digital things permit us to do. I mean, like using not only picture or video, but 360 picture, parallax effect, 360 video, infographics. This is what Memo trying to be, like a new platform for freelancer using the digital way. So this is like the dilemma, you know? So we can start like showing the cover to try to understand what Memo is, and after we can go deeply into the application.
Yeah. So thank you, everybody. This is Memo. This is an application that you can download from iPad right now, and the Android version is on the way. And after download, there is a free demo issue, and then the first issue for the subscribers. And it starts with a cover that is just this one.
Whoa.
That's a bit.
Repeat it.
Repeat. Okay, because there is a. Okay. Okay.
In the end.
This is not exactly what is going on when you download the application. This is only internet problem, right?
Sure. In the iPad, it's working pretty nice.
We try to connect to the iPad.
If anyone's got an iPad, you can download it now live and subscribe in real time if you want.
So, as Fabio said, our main goal was to try to push the limit of the storytelling, because the starting point is we want to do something new and something that could be one of the best magazines out. And this because many magazines that we saw on the App Store are just like PDF that you can swipe with a photo or video, but this kind of devices has got a gyroscope, compass, GPS, so many technology things that you can use. So there is a guide how to use. And then the application mainly has got a number of stories. In the first issues are 5 stories. And just to present maybe only the first, and then we can start talking about the idea. But every story is different, because we work, our kind of work is quite creative, because I am on the developer side, and it's really interesting to work with photographers. So maybe less for them, because they were in our office for 2 months and they kill us in all this time. But so every story is unique. So we start from the photographer's point of view and try to figure out how it can be in a creative way. So, for example.
Can we turn the light on, please? 1 second. So
sure.
before going deep the application, we're gonna present a little bit our work. So we started personally. I started doing picture in 2011. The first time I went to conflict zone was in Libya, and in Libya where I meet the other Memo guy, where I meet Manu, that already come back from his jail time, you know. And after I meet Guillaume, that is downstairs. And this is the reason why we talk about Libya in the first issues. For example, my reportage and your reportage about Libya. And today, just to remember it, is like the day, the 4th anniversary, I don't know if it's the right word in English, but the 4th anniversary when the Libyan war started, so the 17th of February. And during these last 4 years, what we try to do is like working as photojournalists as everybody knows, like the editorial business now, it's not in its best timing. So what we did, like working as freelancer for different companies and paper. Personally, work for FP, Time, and Manu for AP, and other thousands of paper. But working as freelancer, I mean that everybody know that freelancer getting picture and try to sell that picture. And probably the picture, if the picture doesn't fit with the article, doesn't fit with the idea of the newspaper, probably they don't get the picture, you know. So you work all day long, you arrive during the night at around 8 before the newspaper closed, and you try to sell the picture, and nobody wants your picture. So this is more or less how the freelance work is going on. But so after all this stuff, we develop our vision, and we covered the Libyan war. After we went to Syria, we covered the Syrian war in different places. Manu already come back from Ukraine. I went in South Sudan. And during all this time, all this year, we worked as freelancers, sometimes with writers, sometimes with not, And after all this time, what we try to do is like to join forces to like give more spaces to freelance story. What does it mean? I mean, sometimes when you publish story, they only get some picture, but they don't explain your idea. I mean, probably you have all like a big reportage that you want to show, but there's like editor filter that get only some picture. So this is one of the reasons why we started to do a new application.
And there is also the human factor. Sorry, I'm Manu. So at the end, it's like, okay, we've been working for a long time, I would say. I'm not really old. But during the last 4 years, covering that kind of stuff, every time I found myself into trouble, I found a freelance helping me. I never found a company. I was about to say fucking company. Listen, that's the way it is. We are there, we are alone. So if we don't have each other, what we have? We have nothing. And at the end, through this sense of humanity and solidarity, you start to create links. And you realize, like, you have the same idea that this guy, and you have the same idea that this other. And you can go to have some beer and have some fun with this guy. So why don't you make a magazine? Why don't you join forces? Why not? So, we've been thinking so naive, like, okay, we're gonna make an ad, and we're gonna smash them. But Guillem was clever than any of us, and he thought, like, hey, dude, let's gonna make a magazine. Why not? If I'm gonna lose my time making another collective, okay, I'm gonna make something special. And at the end, you find like you are creating a space, not for you, not for your friends, but for your mates. At the end, we are all brothers, and it's a space like where you can show like long-term projects, like you can avoid the gatekeeper, you can avoid this editor that is cropping your pictures like shit, and no, I'm serious. They do so often, and then it's like you start to work on this idea, and you have a friend in Hong. Where were you, Guille? I don't know. Thanks, in Bangkok. You have some other in Torino. You are lost in some village in Spain because you are just a villager, and some other is in. And you start to work through since 2011. Then when we had this meeting, and you start to create meetings, and then someone knows this amazing team of developers, and when you realize like the possibilities you have, not only to express yourself or to tell the stories are much closer to reality or to your reality, because at the end I am your filter. Every time you see my pictures, I am your filter. But it's better me than me and the editor and the guy who cropped the pictures like shit. So, and it's not only for you. It's like we are trying to create a space where all these kind of people and all the people that we know that has been working in Syria, in Libya for too long, you know, like the war is over, but I know people that is still working in Syria. You think like these people can go like, hey, I have a 5 years project and I'm gonna go to magazine and they're going to publish it? No. Maybe maybe we won't also, but we're gonna have a look and let's gonna try to do it. So the idea is it's farther than create only a magazine. It's like to create a space where freelancers and the people who thinks about photography in a much more, I would say, human way than instead business, they can find their place. Sorry, Fabio, you can go.
I'm totally agree. Probably we can start showing something because I think it's better. And Matteo can help us. So just a few words. I mean, on every issue have 5, from 4 to 6 reportages. For the first time, we started with 5 reportages, and every reportage is done by Memo magazine co-founders. So there are a couple of reportages we said about Libya. There are another reportage about between faith and crazy done by Jose Colonda, the Spanish photographer. And another reportage is State of Identity done by Guillem Valle, that is another Spanish photographer. And the last one from another Spanish photographer.
Spanish,
And it's Diego Barra Sánchez. He talk about the education in Pakistan. And after that, like an editorial that we're gonna leave like a space for that a writer can talk about the idea of the issue, because every issue have an idea. As the first one is talk about fear, miedo. And
In Spanish, obviously.
we have to start talking Spanish.
Paura in Italiano.
Paura. And after that, the idea is like to call the help to that other photographer and writer can join can give us some feedback. So give them like a carte blanche to talk about the idea of the magazine. So now Matteo can start, probably we can start talking about the other one.
Which one?
Reportage. So, and after Manu and me can talk about our reportage.
To go into
Comincia con
so
quelli
them,
di
I
Jose,
don't
che c'ha
know,
delle cose.
Joselitos.
So basically, every reportage starts with a cover, what we call cover, that can be really different. Sometimes it's a video, sometimes it's an infographic, sometimes a slideshow. And after that, you can use the story in different ways. So this story, you have a more traditional way with text, with obviously the images. So you have, for every story, you have a gallery. And for every photo, you have the caption. You can see also the gallery like in this way.
This reportage talk about the relation between the crisis, the economical crisis, and the faith in Spain.
I will just show all the photos, but then you have, for example, numbers. So we work with Jose, thinking about the numbers and how we can show them. So we have infographics to show in the data that are under his, behind his works. Some is video, some is an interactive infographic. It depends. So every story has got different levels and is not like a normal magazine with pages. You have pages, you have text, you can have audio, you can have video, you can have different levels, and after you can see up the pages, and so the level, the depth of the reportage. And this is Jose. We want to show him because he's not with us now. He's in Spain, but it's important to show him. Oh. Jose is it's the real video. He's so si bloccato.
El origen del proyecto viene por una pregunta que siempre ha rondado mi cabeza, que es que si España, por los años y arraigo y tradición a la fe católica que tiene, este motivo podría ser un lastre para solucionar los problemas derivados de la crisis. ¿Cómo afronto el trabajo? El trabajo lo afronto a través de un ensayo fotográfico que recorre diferentes puntos de la geografía española, parándome en lo que considero más simbólico para dar respuesta a esta pregunta.
Okay, so this is another way to give to photographers also the chance to explain their work, because it's it's not only a visual reportage. It's different. So everyone can decide what to put inside. If you want a video of himself, an audio like Manu did, or no video or audio at all, but a book inside like Fabio did. So it's really up to photographer. And this was a work that we did. Part with the internet and part in the office. So the photographer came with the developer and worked together from 1 week, more lucky, or a couple of months like Manu and Fabio. And it depends from the ideas and if it's affordable or not, if the developer can do this or not.
So I think that one of the most important thing is like try to develop the interaction between the magazine and the people that are gonna read the magazine. I want to say that if you get Memo, you can decide where to go. You can decide if you want to see the slideshow or listen photographer talking or watch graphics or the video. I think that this is the big difference between the normal paper, because when you get a paper, you have an article, if you want to read an article, or you turn the page. In this way, you have like a lot of, it's like a platform that I give you, and you can choose if you want to see this on the other stuff. So what we are trying to do is like to build an interactive way between the people that are gonna read the magazine. And this is the first step, because what we want to do in the next issue is like give the possibility to the people to choose the reportage they're gonna watch in Memo. So for example, we're gonna you want to see Manu working in Ukraine, in Syria, or in Libya, and the people that are subscribed with Memo can tell if their idea. So the next issue or a couple of issues after, they're gonna see that kind of reportage that Manu did. So it's like an interaction, you know, because when you now with the editorial way, there's no interaction. It's like, you know, in television, you see the television and you cannot tell nothing through television. But so, oh, I mean, you can sell the television, but the television will not answer you. So the idea of Memo, like to build this kind of interaction with the public.
Yeah, keep in mind that in this sort of pool, we also put for Manu, if you want to see Manu in the office, and
Also.
and we will collect the data, so Manu will.
No, but talking about interaction also is like one of the things, like I think like right now, like the studies are telling like something like research and you know these kind of people that are really into it, to these things, like we're losing the capability.
Capacity.
Okay, we cannot pay attention for too long to to anything, you know. I think, I don't know if it's related with the rhythm we're living in, or so at the end, if like normally it's like, I don't know, I work as a photojournalist, and normally I go to a newspaper and it's like, okay, how is Ukraine, because I'm working there? Okay, how is Syria, because I was working there? Okay, how is going my team? I think like 90% of the people is like that, 90%. So at the end, if you are offering me something that requires my attention, my my movement, if my brain is not working, this thing is not working too, you know, like, but working like farther than go like this with some pages, you know. At the end, if you are involved also in the way you're reading these stories, I don't know. The idea is not like to make the you know. If you make a video for a company, they ask you for a minute and a half, and I am always thinking like, what the fuck can you learn in a minute and a half? Nothing. So at the end, it's like, okay, dude, I don't gonna surrender. I don't gonna make my news in 3 minutes or a minute and a half. I'm gonna push you to play. And that's more or less the idea also, you know, like, well, maybe I'm getting lost, but okay, go for some other thing. But did you get it?
Yeah, but Manu told something really important, because I remember the first time we like the genesis of Memo. It's we started to talk with Fabio, and after with the other photographers. I think more than 1 year and a half ago, quite 2 years ago, starting thinking of how can be a new product, a new digital magazine, and drinking, thinking. And after so much drinking, when we decided after a while to try the crowdfunding, because everybody was really everybody was in war zones or in office working 12 hours a day. So we decided to try the crowdfunding, and it was for us a great success. We have something that we didn't really expect. So so many people that donate 25 euros or even more for the subscription of a magazine that was just in our dreams and not in. And so when we reach the goal after, and we say, okay, now we have to do this. It's and so we start in this summer, in the beginning of summer, and I remember that the part of the content was really discussed in the team, because what Manu said about the the level of attention, it's quite dramatic, because some data show that our attention, the medium attention, was 12 seconds in 2000 and was 8 seconds in 2010. And just to have something to compare of, is the fish attention is 9 seconds. So the attention of the human being is officially under.
Attention?
So this is a good reason to go with another reportage. And for the next reportage, I think that probably he doesn't want to come, but I have to call him that because I think that the photographer have to explain their work. So I'm gonna call it in the stage Guillaume Valle that is gonna explain. It's like long-term project about the state of identity. So the country. Grazie Guillaume.
Grazie, Guillaume.
Take the microphone.
So,
I didn't prepare anything, so this is a try.
yeah, you only have to show the
He
reportage.
told, please don't call me because I will not speak.
Well, this is
Okay,
Oh.
go to this. Okay?
No, I'm on my way.
this is a long-term project about stateless nations. So the approach is not like an anthropology catalog, but much more like a. Well, yeah, there's this effect, the parallax effect here. So I didn't want to create a catalog, an anthropology catalog. So I was much more based on the common feelings and energies behind the nationalism. So in this case, we were working closely with Simone, the other developer. So we decided, okay, how can we present this non-anthropology catalog and focus more on the feelings, energies, passions behind all this nationalist thing. So, this has been a very long-term project, and from the beginning, I was not really aware of what I was doing. I was, covering what I thought it was just separate stories. But at some point, I realized that I had something much bigger. So, well, anyway, I'm going to show you because got a little bit stuck. Sorry. So I wanted to kind of put the viewer in the same position that I was while I was developing this story. And, it was a lot of investigation and reflection and, writing and reading and defining the approach. So for me, it was like a discovery, And then I decided to put that into practice and, to drag the viewer into that attitude, like discovering and investigating and so on. So we decided to make something less encyclopedic. I don't know if it's, and something much more immersive. So in this case, we're using
No.
we're using the gyroscope. So the viewer, the reader has to look for the way, or kind of the same way that I had to.
This is one kind of interaction I was talking about before. It's like it's not a normal slideshow that you have to sweep the page from right to left. But if you want to see the picture, you have to go into the picture. So move with the tablet around. If you move around, you can see the images.
So,
Levántate.
yeah, but I don't want to. So of course you have the option of looking at the pictures in a more normal way, but I mean the thing is that what they were saying is that in every reportage there is an interactivity that is justified. It's not just because we can do it. I mean there is a whole speech behind that. And in this case is this, putting the reader in the same position of a photographer. Now everybody, when they take a picture, the movement is this, like with either an iPad or an iPhone. So it's that was the proposal of this reportage. And then of course you can see it as a gallery, normal.
Enséñaselas despacio. La gente quiere ver fotos. Despacio.
And I remember that we had a lot of discussion because, you know, there's a very thin line between, you know, informing and simply entertainment. So we don't want to cross that line and fall into, it's very easy to make a video game. So that's why every interaction we use must be really justified. There must be a reason to do that.
Grazie.
Thank you, Guy.
Okay, so do you want to talk a little bit about how many issues there are going to be a year, what the subscription model is, how people can get the app, and so on?
Mate.
We will have 4 issues every year, free issue plus a monographic, and after talk about the difference between the normal issue and the monographic. And as I told before, we started with the crowdfunding, so we started with something like 500 people that crowdfunded the project, and now you can buy a single issue or the annual subscription, and the pricing model is it's 10 euros, around 10 euros for a single issue, or 25 euros for the subscription. That is quite a high price for a digital magazine, but it's something that we choose because it's not something that we want to. There is a lot of work behind, and so our goal was not to do the 89 cents magazine, because we don't have a big publisher behind us, and we work around 6 months every day for this, and so this is why the price is quite high for a digital magazine. But this is our this is what we strongly believe. There is we decide to work on quality of and not about quantity. So every story is different, and so that's why we decide to have this model.
Talk a bit. I'm very interested in this idea of the collaboration between the web developer, designer, and the photographer. Do you want to talk a bit more about how that works? And I'm quite interested about whether you're starting now to plan projects in advance in thinking about how you're going to present them. So rather than perhaps taking a body of work that already exists and then think about how to present that, actually begin to think about, when you're collecting the material in the first place, how you're going to.
My work has become like much more complicated. That's what I have to say. No, because normally it's like, and in fact, most of the work you can see here, you know, it was thought at the beginning as a normal photo reportage. We were not able to think about the magnitude of and the quantity of possibilities to develop. But right now it's like, okay, you are doing the pictures and suddenly it's like you are listening like, oh, this song is amazing, and they are singing in Ukrainian, so I'm gonna put my iPhone out, and while I'm recording I'm taking pictures, and then I'm playing the drums. And this is like, no, it's making things like much more complicated. And in my case right now, it's like I'm working with some guy that is making video too, and I can say the same about Fabio. So at the end, it's like you have like I don't know, it's much more like a panoptic system, you know. But you're thinking about this arm and this other arm and this other arm, and maybe there's only a sentence of a woman that, you know, like 10-second sentence that can explain your whole reportage, and you don't want to lose that sentence, so you are recording at the same time. So yeah, of course, like the things had changed a lot, and that changed when you are, you know, facing the it's like, I have this idea, and then this guy is telling you like, it's done. Why you don't give me something much more complicated? And it's like, shit. No, it's something like that. These people are so at the end. It's like the relation with of us photojournalists with the developers. I think like at some point it's making us better journalism somehow, or journalists. And I hope like it's the opposite. Like maybe the developers are better. I don't know how, but anyway. So it's a much more complex way to think about the stories, and even with that, we are not able to do it as like. Shit, my English. Sorry for that, guys, but okay, go ahead.
And now we're gonna show our reportage we put in Memo, but before.
But Fabio, just to reply to the question about how the technical also works, because the content is the photographers decide the content, so they have 110% freedom of their works, and in our team there are front-end developer, video maker, infographic makers, and so work with them together in so from their ideas. And some idea is easy to show, someone is more complex. So when you will see Fabio's ideas, Fabio came and say, okay, I want the world showing, then you can go down in Libya with an infographic and then the timeline. So you have to work and produce it. And so in theory, it could be 1 week of work with the photographer. In reality, was many months of work together, of planning, trying, destroying, erase, and redo other. It's this kind of work. From the issue number 2, we are already working, because now after the first issue that was the biggest part of the work, from the second one there will be other photographers, and we started working with them with an idea, and we have more clear because we already did some format, so we will use some of the formats that we already done, and we develop some new format.
But are you writing this code effectively uniquely, or is it you using existing iPad app developing software, or are you kind of coming up with things?
I couldn't tell the secret. No, yes, it's after the crowdfunding. First, in the beginning, we thought to use some existing platform to generate digital magazine. But after the crowdfunding, we were really, let's do it from scratch. And so we start with the mistake that everybody do. So we did from scratch, and we worked with the team in Nicaragua to develop the backend and the code in the backend. And in Italy we do the front end. But we write all the code from scratch, and especially about the front end because it's a cross-platform application, and we did also the plugin for the slideshow. We did again because we want something more fluid, something that can work for Memo. So it was.
So is there a possibility that you might kind of license the platform for other publishing and keep it?
This is Can I answer?
Yeah,
Please.
please.
So this is the idea. I mean, we're developing this platform, and first of all, in the second issue and next issue, the photographers that are going to be published are not the Memo photographers. So we're going to buy the idea and the pictures, and more than the pictures, from other photographers, and that they're going to work close to the developer to develop all the story. And the idea is like, okay, Memo magazine is the magazine, but this kind of interaction the big magazine and paper can use this kind of interaction in their web. For example, if the Times want to, like a web reportage doing this way, for sure we can the code and the way to develop all this stuff. So this is.
But what about other freelancers? I mean, that's more interesting, huh? To work with other freelancers on their projects and so on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just to, when we had the money from the crowdfunding, we decided to take a open source platform and to develop this kind of platform. So the code, the backend platform is open source, and we keep it open source. So it's going really fast after our commitment, but all the interaction is made by.
It's custom. Yeah.
It's custom made, and it's made by us.
So why don't you show us some pictures, dude?
If you can, that's right. So I'm gonna show you inside the Libyan war. It's my first work in the conflict zone. This is why I decided to put this work in the first issue of Memo, because from Libya everything started for me, from my career, my ideas, my fears. So this is the reason why I decided to put all the picture and all the story I did in Libya in the first issue of Memo. I went there 4th time from before the NATO attack in the Syrian and Ukraine, the east side. After I went to Tripoli for the falling down of Bab al-Zizir, and I covered the war till the end when Gaddafi has been killed by the rebels. So here there's a timeline that trying to explain what happened in Libya during that 8 months. In the map there are the different reportage I did in the different places. Starting from Benghazi through Tripoli and Sirte. So every reportage have a cover, a little and from here in the right side we can see the pages, and there's a text that explains all the situation over there and my feeling when I was doing the pictures. And after that there are reportages. So what I tried was like to be like a big reportage with different sections. I mean, we started from Benghazi, where the people, go to the street to demonstrate against the regime, till the end, where they like the frontline picture,
For example, in this case, Fabio asked to have a photo that can have a reversal, a back. And so in the slideshow, we did the slideshow and put this possibility to have a linked image.
So after there are triple reportage and theater reportage and extra. Now I'm gonna show you like some images from theater and go to the extra because it's gonna be too long. I show you in Benghazi, there are like a small cover and after the text and the images. This is the way I choose to develop my reportage.
It's for معتصم and it's for Saif and this for his father Muammar Gaddafi. That, like this.
Biggest one for Muammar Gaddafi.
Gaddafi, Saif, معتصم.
In the extra session, there are different kind of stuff. It's not only photography, but for example, in the Road to Syria, in the English version, because Memo is being developed in 3 different languages: in Italian, in Spanish, and in English. In the English version, there's Claire Gills, that's a writer freelancer that wrote all the story about the Libyan war that we decided to publish in Memo. And it's like a book. Divided in chapters, and so I mean, when we talk, I remember then we were in Perpignan, there were the big photojournalist festival, we talked with different editors, and they told us, okay, but if I get Memo, I need to spend some time of it, because if I, pay $25, I need, to take my time to spend it. So we decided to put not like a big book, but like 10, 20 pages to read. And this is like a normal, it's another kind of interaction that probably everybody knows. It's a book, it's a digital book that we can find it. And this is like a comic. I remember that the last day when Gaddafi had been killed, I was working in Misrata, and there are a lot of graffiti in the Martyr Square, so I decided to get picture of that graffiti, and from there we build like a comic that explain all the, the end of Gaddafi's dictatorship.
Fabio.
And after that, there's a teaser for the next issue, but I will not show everything because after that there's no reason to buy it. So I'm gonna pass the iPad to Manu.
No, pon el vídeo, paso del iPad.
His story. Okay. So some word about your reportage, and I'm gonna show the video.
So so as this is that was my chance to make a long-term reportage. For good or for bad, I was detained by Gaddafi troops for, I don't know, like 40-something days. And I spent that time in jail during the war, and right after that, I was released, and well, then the rebels get into Tripoli, so there was no reason to me to not go there. So one of the first things I started to work, it was like to take pictures of the prisons where I was in jail for that time. But the curious thing was like my captors were the prisoners. So I was like, I don't know, maybe some kind of therapy. I really don't know. I keep following that story about the prisoners and the loyalists since 2011 until the end of 2013. And when I was reviewing the portfolio or the reports, I was not, I don't know, I was not able to feel a lot of things that I felt in jail. So I thought like maybe this is incomplete, but there is no way to express what you can feel when you are in prison only or just with pictures. You can have like a very tiny idea about the personal tragedy that it is. At the end, I decide to write over the pictures. It's not the very creative thing, you know, it's not original, but at the end I think it can brings you much more, I don't know, what the prisoner feels when you cannot reach, when your life is not depending on you anymore. And well, with the time the reportage grew and grew and grew, but the idea was more or less the same. So I want to show you like, okay, it's the same. You have the story, you have text, you have a normal slideshow. But one of the things that you can, you know, it's like it's a classy reportage. You have numbers, you have the facts, you have the pictures. But, well, it's my magazine, so I'm going to tell what I want. You know? So that's it, more or less, the way I want it.
Recuerdo el momento de nuestra captura como un pasaje líquido que se escurre entre mis dedos cada vez que intento sujetarlo. Flashes, fogonazos de imágenes, de sonido de ametralladoras, de coches que aceleran, de golpes, de alaridos, la confusión, la cara de odio, la sangre que brota de aquí y de allá, la adrenalina. El compañero que quedó atrás, memoria tiroteada en la coneta de una carretera libia. Eran principios de abril y comenzaba para mí y mis compañeros un tour de 45 días por diferentes cárceles del régimen de Gaddafi. Cárcel, rejas por las que dejar escapar tu memoria hacia el recuerdo de aquello que dejaste de hacer, de aquellos que dejaste atrás, de los sitios, los lugares, las músicas que no vendrán, salvo en un tiempo pasado en los que la única barrera frente a ti era el horizonte. Muros de papel que se pliegan ante un Dios ciego, ignorante, ebrio de poder e insano. Libre albedrío que se escapa a la memoria del regazo de tu madre. La soledad de aquellos primeros días en aislamiento vino marcada por el aburrimiento, por el silencio y por la desesperación metódica de estar conmigo mismo. Desear otro interrogatorio con tal de tener contacto humano. Creo que estoy muy jodido. El ruido de un coche, unos pies que caminan, alguien habla tras la puerta, seguramente y otra vez el aburrimiento. Cada vuelta a mi celda son 10 pasos. Cada día doy 1000 vueltas hacia la derecha y otras 1000 hacia la izquierda. Es importante compensar. Cada paso son unos kilómetros y esto hace 19 kilómetros al día. Además, hace tiempo que estoy solo. Hoy ha sido una mosca la víctima de mis delirios. Se llama Ana, como mi mejor amiga. Y seguramente esta puta mosca es la mejor y única amiga que tengo ahora. Esta mañana han abierto a mi celda. De nuevo con un pañuelo tapando mis ojos. No llevo las manos atadas a la espalda. ¿Nos vamos a casa? Al final me han traído otro presidio. Ahora comparto la celda con 9 presos más. La revolución está sobrecargando las cárceles del régimen. En muchas ocasiones, cuando la luz de la tarde se colaba en la celda y Yamal apoyaba su espalda contra el muro y el sol teñía su cara en ocre, yo pensaba, lo verdaderamente trágico de todo, mi verdadero drama, es estar aquí dentro sin mi cámara. Otras veces maldecía a la cámara por haberme traído hasta ese agujero. Prisión es un puede hacer rezar al más ateo. Allí, entre rejas, sentí la necesidad de creer, de rezar, de integrarme, de buscar un mensajero entre yo y mi gente, entre yo y mi raíz, mi tiempo, entre yo y aquello que ya no me pertenece, sino que pertenece a algún hijo de puta para el que mi vida es otro juguete más con el que pasar el rato. Durante aquellos 2 insignificantes minutos diarios, teníamos que llenar nuestros cuencos con comida, tender la ropa, cambiar cigarrillos y otras mercancías con los presos de la celda de enfrente, cualquier cosa. Eran pocos los minutos en los que veíamos la luz del sol y apenas teníamos tiempo de mirar al cielo.
Obrigado. Maybe we need some light, maybe.
Put the lights back up again, please. So how are you planning to work with photographers in the future? Do you want people to come to you with projects? Do you have an editorial board? How are you going to find new work?
Well, we need to produce some more work, but as I'm telling you, like we're finding a lot of mates and brothers that really want to help and really want to see their ideas develop on this way. I don't know, like we are pretty confident on each other at the time that, oh, I see this work, have a look on this, I know this guy, have a look on his work. We have also Maral, and she's working pretty hard on that. So, I don't know, on that aspect I'm not really I'm not really worried about that, because there's plenty of freelance photographers like doing a great job, and younger generations, like with 25, 26, they can be shooting and recording and everything. So they have much more complex minds at the time to approach a story.
So I mean, it used to be that we would shoot for a newspaper or magazine, and that was what we did. You know, that was great. We got up, and then there's a huge gap between that and the book or the exhibition, which is kind of a big production. You know, do you think this is now why you're doing it? So you're no longer shooting for the newspaper or magazine; you're actually shooting for Memo, and that this is the prime space in which you want to communicate, to explore the world.
Well, I don't know.
So there's been a shift in a sense from that quite commercial model, in a way, to something different.
I don't know. I have to recognize that I'm one of the luckiest men ever, because I always have done what I want to do. But with the time, the style probably is changing, and the way you approach the stories is changing. But I don't know. I really enjoy to shoot daily news also. But one of the things, it's like I always try to keep in mind, like, to find some time to shoot for me, to shoot my stories, to shoot the feelings I have, not the story I suppose to shoot because in that kind of picture about this kind of conflict. But more or less, it's like I don't know. I'm enjoying doing both, and I will keep doing this way as long as I can. But I know that within the group there is people like is turning into much more personal stuff. I really respect that. I admire, and I try to learn as much as I can. So.
Are you saying? Or?
Yeah, quite more or less the same. I mean, everybody of Memo still working for Wired or magazine or paper. I mean, we are freelancing, and after that we try to build this new platform.
Great.
About our growth, the thing I have to say that the only change that we did, it's a good change, because we started as a group of photographer and a group of developer, and then now we have an editor-in-chief, that is Maral Degati, that is the person that made this meeting here in Frontline Club possible, and so it was really important for us her presence because it's something professional that is helping us to grow, because we started in a real good way and also with a bit knife, and that was really good because it was really working. You cannot work more than 12 hours every day for a month, not a bit knife and friends, and so and morale add something to this kind of group. So thank you.
Great, thanks, Morale. Have we got any questions from the audience? Anybody want here in the front? If you've got any questions, just raise your hand now so I know where to go next after this one.
It's Royal Arab Institute of Archaeology. It's really interesting to see that whereas having the narrative and then providing a photograph for that narrative, as the photographers you have become the narrative makers. And it's really interesting to see the way that you are playing with that, because you're not restricted by a writer. But I wonder, if a writer was to come to you with an idea, with you at Memo, then would your photographers then work on capturing the images that goes with that narrative that the writer has? Would that be a way you would also work, or are you just solely for photographers?
Can I? No, it's not only for photographer. We hope that we can work together with writers and video makers, and everybody can add something to this kind of storytelling. And for example, in the second issues, one good Italian writer that had been kidnapped 6 months in Libya, Domenico Quirico, gonna write the editorial. So we try to get like some, fusion, some joint venture with other people that work in this profession.
Also for how do you say, the guys who draw the comics, like no, we're thinking also like, I don't know, there's many ways to express journalism, it's not like A, B, C, it's like there's many ways, so everyone is welcome as long as your story is good and the way you explain your story is good enough, so you're really welcome, everyone is welcome. This is not like a private club.
It's more about ideas and not about one kind of media. So Memo is really open to every kind of good idea, because we are not a big publisher, and we have not a big publisher, and we are really free to do the best things that we can choose together. So it's really about ideas.
Any other questions? Yeah.
How do you go about marketing, and who's your...
Wait for the micro.
And just say who you are as well, briefly, if you don't mind.
Hi, I'm just wondering, who's your target audience? How do you define them, and how do you go about marketing?
About what?
Marketing. So
I'm selling fish and chips here.
I'm 22. Bye.
This was the hardest part of our work, because first of all, the real target is people who is involved in photojournalism and in newspaper and in media. What we are really trying to push is to have a bigger audience. And for example, we close a deal with a partnership with La Stampa in Italy that will be the first of partnership. And so we give the free for all the La Stampa subscribers that are more than 10,000. They're quite 20,000. 20,000. And so, because our goal is not to talk only to a target of professional, but to go in the houses of everybody. So this is our goal.
You mentioned the idea of the monograph issue. How is that going to work? How is that going to be different to the regular issue?
Well, there is some questions up on the table, and okay, one of the ideas is like our audience can choose. They can be editors once in a year. So there is different options we want to work about, like, I don't know, like migration, conflict in Ukraine, I don't know, like circumcision in wherever the place, I don't know, like a list of, and they can vote. So they will be editors once. They can put 5 photographers because this number, this special number will be it's going to be done by the 5 founders always. So you can put 5 photographers working in the same issue for a while. And I think like that's also good because at the end we are, you know, like normally the feedback between medias and audience is not like, okay, you can
within the Memo publication, or is that somewhere else, like on a Facebook site or something?
No, it's going to be it's going to be like another issue, you know, like same as
no, but I mean this dialogue between you and the audience.
It's going to be inside Memo publication.
It's inside them.
Exactly.
Okay. Right.
So
it's only that is for subscribers.
Yeah.
I mean the people that got Memo can decide can be editor.
And that's more or less the idea. Of course, we will choose. We will make 5 options that we really want to go. We really want to do. You know, it's not like
a limited amount of choice.
Well, you know, but at the end, well, I think it's much more that you can do with a normal newspaper.
Of course. Any more questions from anybody? The back. Just wait for the microphone if you don't mind. Try and just say who you. Well, just because it's being recorded, it's much better with the microphone.
It's just a question actually about there's quite a personal point of view that you're putting through your work, and so I've got a question about reportage being about the delivery of information and telling stories that are sort of quite factual, and I'm just wondering about you talked about the kind of the feeling and the more visceral nature that drives your narratives. And I'm just quite interested in the crossover between documenting fact in your work, but also how much artistic license dictates the stories you tell.
Well, I think depending on depending on the photographer, I don't know, like there is, I think like Fabio's work, for example, is quite journalistic. No, it's like you can follow the living world step by step. You have your numbers, you have your dates, you have your characters, and so on. And you have the facts and you have the pictures. On my, if you want to read like the normal news thing, you know, it's like okay, these facts, you have this article, you have this slideshow. But if you want to know what is going on in our minds, so at the end it's like, how far can I go? As long as the developer can go, you know, and as long as my imagination can go also. But at the end, it's like, well, I'm doing pictures, you know. It's like I choose if I put my focus there or my focus there. How artistic is that? You know, they can be dying there, and then there is a party. What do I choose? So at the end, it's like I really believe, like I don't know, like the opinion or the way a photographer thinks about his pictures and about his work. It's also important because that makes me more human. That's all. I'm not a machine. I'm the guy who is controlling the machine. So please don't. You know, it's like I don't need to be like this or that. If you want it, you got it. Because anyone to blame me like, you're destroying journalism. This is your point of view. Okay, no, shut up. And have this. But if you want to know a little bit more, you can also have this option. You know, so it's okay like this.
Have we got time for one more question? I think there was somebody around here. Is there?
Do you mind just saying who you are as well? So it's just good for us to know.
Oh, my name is Javier. I'm freelance. I'm also studying MMA in international journalism. I wanted to know a bit more about your funding scheme. You mentioned before crowdfunding. Are you keep on that way, or you rely on your subscribers to fund the magazine, or are you thinking on placing ads on the magazine at some point?
This is a hot topic. The crowdfunding was a one-shot. So we asked money for found Memo magazine as a concept, not a single issue. We asked 15,000 euros and we collected 22,000 euros. That was really a good goal for us and really surprised everybody. Well, really, Fabio was sure about this to get the goal, but all the other were more. Fabio was right, and now we are trying to go on with the subscribers, and let's see. We are not close to advertising for sure. In the first issue there is no advertising, and we will choose if it's possible. Step by step the advertiser. So we don't like the idea to have a magazine full of advertising. We are not. We are trying to escape in this kind of view. But we, on the other side, we want to go on with this project. So we are more focusing on partnership. So what we have done with La Stampa, we are trying to do with the other across the world, and also to work with the NGO or other, not companies, but other realities that are interested in do some ethical work, social issues. So maybe there will be advertising in the future, but not only focusing and only if it's good for survive. This is our.
And only one thing, and about the advertising, we're gonna choose what kind of advertising. I mean, you know, if like any that is big petrol system in Italy gonna come to like Memo, what this, you know, it's a bit against our work for the journalists. So we're gonna choose, if Canon gonna come, probably it's gonna be okay, you know. So we're gonna choose about that.
What about Nikon?
Well, everyone
okay,
is welcome on
if
that
they're gonna
time.
give us gears, I mean, there's no problem.
So is there anything else you wanted to add about the publication? Do you think we've covered everything, or?
I don't gonna bother anyone.
Great. Well, I mean, I hope it works really well. It's a great publication. I think just beginning to scratch the surface as well of what you can do. I think that's what's very exciting, is seeing, you know, it's a very new medium, and we're defining the language of that and the grammar of it. So it's very exciting to see people experimenting with, you know, more the slideshow with audio. So that's really exciting. So you can all download the app. You can start being subscribers, hopefully. And I think the guys are going to be around for a bit to talk to them afterwards. Thank you all very much for coming, and big round of applause.
Thanks, brother.